G'day gang, Simo and Ed. Back again for another episode of the Fastline Kart Track Growth Show, where we talk all things business and karting.
Well, last video we did the why email is only half of the answer. So there's a couple of snippets in that last video. This one now we're going to try and bring it full circle. So if email is only half the answer, we're going to talk about the back end of what the other half is. But nothing. We finished off in the last video where we just talked about really we're going to start to look at a few bits and pieces around customer journey, I think. And just talk a bit about systems in your business. So this will just help you now be able to structure everything you're doing to go and grow your business. But we had this recently, didn't we? It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago at the time of filming, we had a kart track owner reach out to us and just said, can you help me with an email? Always happy to do that. And we had a quick look. And it wasn't just the email itself, was it? We started to first analyse where the customer is, and then things they didn't quite add up. There was enough in there though that we can make sort of, we could make something out of it. And I think that's the problem for kart track owners. There's enough going on in the kart tracks that you can put a few bits and pieces together that you'll get something, and then you'll hold that up as though it's working. But I think if you got somebody with a new pair of eyes just looking at your business afresh from a customer point of view, I think that would be both a painful conversation but a really great conversation to have, because I think it will unleash lots of kart tracks. Really the first trick to this really is to look at it through a new customer's eyes, because there's bits probably that are missing that don't make sense in somebody's head.
And it's also, you need to know their pain points. For corporate customer, it might be, my team's disjointed, I need to bring them in. I want to get closer to my customers. For, mum with their kids, it's, my kids are driving me mad. It's school holidays. They've been inside on the screens. I've got dishes overflowed on the thing. There's no food in the house because they've eaten it all, and I just want them to go out and do something.
Have a bit of fresh air, probably.
Yeah.
Just get a new scene. I think there's a couple of things in there. One is, before we even get to that stage, when we've got the point at which the customer has arrived and possibly paid some money at the track or arrived as turn up and drive, what you probably won't realise unless you've looked into this before is there's already been a whole journey for them before they even got to your track. And I think we need to understand that first of all to go and make sure, to go and answer the question why email's only half the answer. So I had to jot down a few notes, but it's only really from personal experience and from some conversations with other businesses. But when a customer arrives at your track, first of all, they've identified there's a possibility that it might be go-karting is the choice at the end of their journey. The second thing they've done then is they haven't just parted with some money. They did a bit of research online. They didn't just look at go-karting, they looked at all the other different options that are available for a
mini golf, bowling,
the cinema. All the usual suspects will be in there. There'll be a couple of other things as well, like pop-up theatre, playgroups, there'll be all sorts of things that they've researched online. So they're checking into other solutions before they come to you. So that's useful to know. If you're a go-kart track owner and you realise you can start to meet the customer, because you know they're going to come and have a look. So how do you go and deal with that in your marketing? Then they've probably had a conversation with friends. So Mumsnet's a real classic example of this. Really successful
I see it
thing
on
in the UK.
I see it on Facebook in particular. And I've got one friend. Now that I think about it, there's quite a lot of them. They want recommendations for things to do. And then they narrow that down. So in a go-karting perspective, it's like, I've got kids at home, need an activity. And they'll throw a whole lot of activities at them. And then they'll decide the activity, and then they'll go, right, need to go go-karting. Where's a good place to go go-karting in Dorset?
And then, the next thing they'll also do is they'll ask their friends, we've found a go-karting track here. Was it okay for a girl aged 13? Like, did they enjoy it? Were they looked after properly? Were they? And then you've got to think about that. Then it's like, now it's a boy of 13. And they just want, so they're going to start asking friends for input, and you can't necessarily control that, but your marketing has to answer a lot of this. Then it's entirely possible before they even make that final decision, they're going to start Googling reviews on you.
Yeah.
So have you got reviews, first of all? How many star rating was it? When you had the good, the bad, the ugly reviews, and hopefully you've got a mix. It's not always good to have just wonderful glowing reviews. You need to show what happens when things go wrong and how you handle those as well. So are you on top of that, and what are you doing? Once they've been through that process, then they might buy from you.
Social proof is really important.
Oh, huge.
You know, we've talked about this in the newsletter and other places, but having social proof, and I've heard someone say that for each year of business you've been in business for, you need 10 reviews.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've not heard that before, but I really like this. No, yeah. I'm loving this.
No, but the other thing is, they need customer video testimonial on their website too. That's a big plus.
Well, they need customer testimonial, and video is probably the best way to go and do that.
Absolutely.
I think a close second, I would get it into words as well. People often at work will start to book stuff, so they need to be able to read it without having to listen when it's, that's a little bit awkward. I heard a bit of research myself. 59% of people research stuff online before they buy. So more than half of your customers have gone through this process. I think that was Forrest or Forest Live who talked about that. It might have been a B2B setting, but B2C is not going to be far away from that.
By the time they actually contact you, you pick up the phone, ring you and say, or go to your website to book the session, the decision's already been made, and there's not a lot you can do to influence it.
No, you can influence what they're buying, but the decision's been made to do something because,
and to do it with you.
Yeah, so they've done the peer reviews. They've taken out a lot of the second guessing if this is the right opportunity for them. They've reduced the risk. They won't talk about it in those terms, but they've reduced the risk on their part by taking the decision to come to your cart track. So if you understand that, well, if you agree first of all that is a typical route that people will go down, it'd be a fairly common one. But if you can answer all those points in there and do that as part of your marketing approach to them, and the website and landing pages, whatever else you're using, starts to address some of these issues, then you've got a long way to making your sale a lot more easy. That some money will be spent by your potential customer. I've got a couple of other stats I just jotted down, but literally just to go and put a bit of context on this, because I think you're very quickly starting to understand that email is half the answer. What you do and how you handle it on the back end also is another part of it. 95% of customers select a seller who provides ample content to navigate each buying stage. So that was a really interesting stat. So you've got to have something for each stage of their buying process. And if you do that, you've got a long way to making a customer feel comfortable about spending some money with you. 68% of customers feel positive about a brand after contact. This is one reason why your email is so important. So you've got to get that backbone of marketing, as I call it. That email weekly content is the way forward, I promise you.
And also your follow-up after a customer has been there. I had a track owner talk to me and sort of said, look, because of this GDPR stuff, people weren't opting into their email list.
Yeah.
So I said, well, how are you doing this? Well, it was just a tick box on the kiosk, on the registration kiosk. I said, oh, well, that's where the problem is.
Nobody's going to agree to that.
No. If you email them a receipt, do you want a receipt? Yeah, okay. Can we email those?
Yeah.
Here's my email address. Race results. Do you want your race results? Yep. Okay, well, we need an email address to email those to. I saw one track that had a podium set up, and they took photos, and then they emailed the photo to the thing. So you give permission for all those things, and then you get them to opt in.
It could be as simple as, are you entering into the monthly competitions that we run?
Yeah,
we are. Excellent. We've just put your email address in there. We'll know how to contact you with the details if you've won. That's another cool, easy way to go and get opt into GDPR. So there's a positive opt-in. The other bit of stats I've got down here: 82% of customers consume at least 5 pieces of content before buying. Now I can guarantee that with just a 10-minute search on either side of this video, you'll find somebody saying 5 was just such an outdated number. It's going to be 10 now and 13. But you've got to think about that contact before and after for that customer journey. I'm just going to put my neck on the block here and let people and shoot me down. But I think most people don't understand market message media. And as a result, because they don't take time to understand their market, the messaging's not quite right. Well, if you're really sort of a little bit shit at getting your messaging right, you are going to need 21 attempts to go and hit the target. But if you get very quickly to understand where they're at and say the right things at the right time, a couple of things might do it well for you. Understanding your market is why it's just such a smart idea to do, really, because it will reduce the amount of times you have to contact them. I think it would be a rare business that can do it in 1 or 2 hits.
If you understand your customer, the content writes itself.
It does.
You know, understand their problems, understand their pain points, understand their situations, and that's half your sales letter written.
Yeah, there's a thing called RAS, R-A-S, and I can never remember what it stands for. The R is reticular, and I think it's activation system or something like that. So, but have a look at RAS. What happens there is, have you had that experience where you buy a car and you think there's very few of these on the road, and then you drive down the road and all of a sudden, there's like 10 people driving the car in the same colour that you've just bought it, and thinking, that's really odd, I've never seen that before. It works the same way here. That is, it's your body, your whole system is filtering out so much information constantly. You're not consciously aware of it. As soon as you then become consciously aware of something, you start to see it everywhere. So the more you hone into what your customers are looking for, the more it gets easier to write stuff, because the RAS system starts to go, that'd be a useful piece of content. And suddenly there's content everywhere that you can, how did I never notice this before? It's because your body's filtering it out. So if you just help yourself become aware of it, your content will start to follow. So that does get easier. That being said, and I've said it before in a previous video, how easy is it to write email every week?
It's not.
It's painful, isn't it?
And especially the last year we've had.
Yeah.
Last 18 months we've had, where we've been in and out of lockdowns because nothing is happening.
Yeah.
And you generally write about something you've done.
Yeah, anecdotal emails are a really smart way to go and engage with your audience. So stuff like universal experience is a great one, because then people read it and they go, I had that happen. And it doesn't just happen to me, it happens to them. Oh, they're one of me. So you start to build rapport. But it's really bloody difficult, isn't it, to think up stuff every week that will have relevance to the audience, that will engage with them and help them take action. If we hold true to that, if we believe that conversation earlier about you need 5 points of contact before they even start to purchase, and then what you do on the back end, that whole customer journey needs a little bit of thought and a bit of consistency, and just needs something happening every time. If you're a cart track owner and you're not emailing your audience once a week, and I'll have said this in another video, you really need to get to grips with that very, very quickly. Reach out and have a conversation. We'll find a solution for you.
Well, I'd let them do bi-weekly. But any less than that, no.
Sort of. Yeah, I think you will get away with the fortnightly email, but weekly is a sweet spot. We know that. And why not go for the sweet spot from the off? Yeah. So, I will let you off with the fortnightly email.
The big thing here is the start.
It is.
Right? I'd be extremely happy if they did it monthly, with the idea to go bi-weekly, with the idea to go weekly. It's the starting that's the big issue. It's the biggest hurdle to get over is to start. And then the second biggest issue is to continue. So make it easy on yourself, and then, just up the ante.
Well, the first email's the difficult one to write in terms of what's in there.
And you won't get it right.
And there is no right. There's no perfect, so don't worry about it. And then the second bit is, now how do I keep it going? Yeah. Which is two slightly different conundrums there. But the first emails are fairly easy to write. You can start anywhere you like, almost. And nobody knows anything about you, so you can start there. Tell them something about you. Yeah. That is relatable to them, that helps them make a decision to come down your cart track. Then the next thing is, then have a think about what journey they're going through. We've talked about that just in the beginning of this video. So now I know that they're going to, first of all, they're going to go off and make a decision, first of all, that they're going to come and do something with me. Then they're going to go and research me online. Then they're going to go and ask some friends and family to go and chip in. Then they're going to have a look at some Google reviews. Then they might buy from me. Right, so let's go and put some content around there. Don't have to do it in one go, but just over time. Yeah. Going to give them enough information.
Why is go-karting a fun activity? Why will go-karting keep your kids out of your hair? Why is go-karting a good team-building exercise?
Yeah.
How does go-karting move customers to raving fans?
There's a few ideas to explore already.
That's in the selection of the activity process. You know, the social proof. You can have case studies. Put out social media posts around groups that are coming there, birthday parties that happen there. Maybe you can't with kids, but you can with stag groups. And
kids are just the best. Because if they come off a track and they're going, oh, that was absolutely brilliant, you go, yeah, great, what did you love about it? Oh, I just loved it, and there's this one bend that this happened, and they'll just talk, and they tend to talk, don't they? That'd be great if you can just go, hey, mum or dad or both, if they're there, and it's okay, we'll just get that on a quick video shot. I just want to put it on the website, they're so enthused. That would just be an enormous bit of anecdotal type stuff that people can relate to, where they go, oh well, and out of kids are just so plain and honest talking, aren't they? So if a kid says it, it's like 10 times the impact of an adult. They're like, yeah, he probably knows the kart track owner. All the skepticism kicks in. Don't you find yourself really skeptical about stuff that you see online?
Yeah, and let's talk about bad reviews.
Yeah.
It's not a problem to have a bad review.
No, you need them.
Yeah.
It's a problem to not have a bad review. Yeah. And I'll tell you why, if you have, I don't know, let's say there's 30 reviews because you've been in business for 3 years.
Yeah.
Let's say you got 30 reviews on there and every single one is 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, awesome, wonderful, People look at that and go, I don't believe you. But if you've just got 1 or maybe 2 like bad reviews over the space of 3 years where people have said, actually, I had a really poor time there today, and you've responded correctly, it shows a couple of things. One is, we all know things will go wrong. Secondly, like now I've seen it, I now believe all your other reviews that all say 5-star, and people know that sometimes people can be idiots. So they'll now question whether it's the person or the track, and they're not quite sure. And thirdly, when things go wrong and you do something to put it right, that shows that I can have trust in that company to go and spend some money with you. So for all those reasons, bad reviews are a really good thing for you. So if you don't have a bad review, seek them out and get them to be active about it and respond really positively. And if you do all of those things, you will win out.
Absolutely.
There's only one worse thing than no bad reviews. than a bad review. That's no bad reviews.
We've just about covered it.
Yeah, there's enough in there. So the last video, which wraps up into this one, we were talked about why email's only half the answer. But emails are so important because it probably is a good half or more of the answer. And then today we've just talked about the other bit, that customer journey just needs to be thought through. Assuming now that you are emailing weekly or fortnightly, you take your pick. Go once a week. Get that sorted. If you're not sorting it, talk to us. We'll get that sorted out for you.
And please, no templates.
They just don't work.
No.
You talk now, and when you say templates, just clear this up for the video, because that can mean 2 things. One is, are you talking templated emails that just go out like willy-nilly because you wrote them and you just roll them out, or are you talking templates in CRM systems?
I'm talking template willy-nilly. It's got to look like it's come from a real person. It's come from a friend, you know, and it looks like it's addressed you. So I go plain. My emails, a lot of you have seen them. It's just plain as g'day, the body of the email, might be a picture in it, might be a video embedded in it. Then it's Simo, head honcho, logo, and
maybe
a picture.
PS. Yeah.
A PS. You know, I think there's some company information down the bottom of it, but...
Well, we have to put company information in there for all sorts of reasons. Some of it legal, but nobody ever gets done for it. But it's a really smart idea. Early days, just a simple black text on a white background helps readability. And you want it to look like it's from your friends. Your friends don't send you sort of background and everything on their emails. You know, it's just like, crikey, if you've got a friend like that, tell me about it. But that's just not how friends talk to each other. In early days, you don't even need photos or anything in there. Keep it really simple. And that'll just encourage people to read it first of all, because you've got to get people to read your email. And if you can get that to work first of all, then you get to use, you've got readership. So then you get to break the rules a little bit, which you do, which is great. But it's taking you a while to get there because you had to build up to the point where people went, oh, actually, he's all right. I'm going to read what he's done and have a look at the latest crazy picture he's going to send me.
Just about winds up. We're going to run out of tape soon.
That'd be so cool if we were taping it.
Old school, eh?
I'm tempted. Press the bell down at the bottom of the video. This is going to help you get up to date with all the videos as and when they appear, and get ahead of the crowd in terms of any offers we make in these videos. And we tend to make offers every video.
Yeah.
And people do take us up on them.
Yeah.
So if there's anything that has just stirred a bit of emotion in you today.
And if something's amiss, let us know.
And if you think you're doing it well, but you're not quite sure, you can't, or you couldn't prove to somebody, then come and have a chat with us and we'll give you an opinion. Let you know whether we think you're doing the very best for your track. So if nothing else, use that as a reason to reach out to us.
Right, gang. Till next time. And I think the next one's going to be 15.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Getting some heady numbers now.
Yeah, look out. All right.
Till the next time. See you soon.